Thank you. It's good to be together. While our pastor, Reverend Rose, is on maternity leave, Soul Matters small groups in our church have taken responsibility for leading worship services. Today's service is being facilitated by Jennifer Nelson's group. One of the members of that small group, Tina Kolm, is our guest preacher today. Tina leads healing art workshops at area hospitals, churches, and support groups. Before retiring, Tina worked as a graphic designer, college-level teacher of art and design, and art director at Hallmark, both in Kansas City and New York City agencies. Tina is excited to share what she has learned about art, resistance, and resilience. And now, Jennifer Nelson has an announcement.
Good morning. Please join fellow smoochers for a Cinco de Mayo Mexican potluck dinner to be held the day after Cinco on Saturday, May 6th, from 6 to 8 p.m. in Fellowship Hall. Please register for the event in Realm, noting what you will bring if you intend to contribute a dish. It's okay to come for dinner without bringing anything. And if you need more information, you can see Fisk Miles. Thank you.
Come, let us worship. Please join in singing together as we stand our opening hymn, Mother Earth, Beloved Garden.
Mother, beloved
As Cleo comes forward to light our chalice, please join me in reciting our covenant. Let us affirm that love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Good morning. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite all the children to join me up here. All right, today you're all going to help me on a project. But before we get started, I have just a couple of questions. Raise your hand if you have ever been overwhelmed by thoughts and feelings. We all have. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced a time when someone asked you to describe your thoughts and feelings and you couldn't. You didn't have the words yet. Me too. I remember being overwhelmed with so many thoughts and feelings when my son was born. I also remember being overwhelmed when my grandmother passed away. In both experiences, it wasn't easy finding the words to express myself. But today I want to introduce you to a new way of expressing yourself. Some might call it a language of colors and shapes. It's a language that doesn't have any words. In fact, this language can be good for showing those feelings and thoughts that we might not have words for yet. All right. Children, what I want you to do is form a line. And would there be any adults that would like to help? Maybe 3 or 4? Any volunteers? Oh, thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. All right, in just a moment, I'm going to ask Cleo to close her eyes and take a deep breath. I will then say the name of a feeling. With your eyes closed, you see if you can see a color in your mind. You will then open your eyes and choose one of the colors I have up here. Hopefully it matches with the one you were thinking. Whatever color you choose is the right color. You will then, on our canvas, paint a line, a squiggle, a dash, a blob, whatever shape that matches that feeling for you. All right, Cleo, close your eyes and take a deep breath. The first feeling is worry. All right, open your eyes and pick a color. Grab any brush you want. Okay, let's just pick. Perfect. Thank you, Cleo. You can go have a seat. All right. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. The next feeling is love. Open your eyes and pick a color. What reminds you of love? All right, good. You can come over here. You need to shape your feeling. Can I have more? Perfect. Thank you. All right. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your feeling word is anger. Open your eyes and pick a color. You can do any shape you want. You don't have to do what they do. It can be as big, as small as you want. I love that. All right. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your feeling is excited. You can use up as much space you can go over. Totally up to you. Thank you. All right, Andre. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your word is silly. What color reminds you of being silly? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. All right, hello. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your word is sad. Love that. Do you want to add? Put more paint on there? Thank you. Hi, Jay. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your word is confused. Great. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Your word is curious. Great. All right, John. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Your word is happy. I don't think this one's been used. Ooh, good. Thank you so much. And this paint is washable if the people are concerned. All right, I'm going to do one more because I want to add to this too. All right. My word is peaceful. What color do I want? One thing I love about Unitarian Universalism and our community is that we believe that all people and their feelings have value. So next time you are experiencing feelings that don't have words yet, use the language of art to help you see what you're feeling in a new way. Because art can help us see our way out of those feelings that can often be very overwhelming. Please join me Please join me as the children go to their class, singing the children out, where we will continue to express our feelings through arts. And this piece right here will hang in our gallery outside. Thank you.
We come into this place to see and to be seen, to teach and to be taught, to hear and to be heard. So, reach over and nudge the person sitting next to you. Be aware that we're here together, gathered in peace and authenticity and intention.
We come to this place to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or a sorrow to share, I invite you now to come and light a candle. You can share what's in your heart or on your mind in a sentence or two, in just a word, or silently by just lighting a candle. So, time for joys and sorrows.
My name is Ted Thompson. I wanted to light a concert. Last night, the Green Guitar Folk Music Concert was spectacular. I really want everybody to know about that. I'm anxiously looking for the next one in May. Mike Padgett hit a home run last night. That one.
I'm Vicki Sovereign, and I just wanted to express what I've been feeling in the midst of all this, the terrible things that are being done to trans people right now in legislatures across the U.S. The Minnesota legislature was a beautiful bright point, and it just makes me so hopeful. That's it. And a reminder that there are lots of UU congregations in that area.
Good morning, I'm Matt, and 15 years ago today, I woke up with about 9 hours missing from being blackout drunk, and made the promise to myself and the woman who is my wife now that I would not do that anymore. And with clear eyes and a joyful heart, today I am 15.
I'm Carl Davis. I was on the book here when Tom Belote was at the cow place down on 87th Street, and I don't have to remember the day I joined because it was the same day that somebody shot up the church in Knoxville, Tennessee. I think it was '09. And anyway, my brother passed away a couple weeks ago, and he donated his body to medical science to Texas Tech Medical School in Lubbock, Texas. They just had his service at the UU congregation in Midland. And I'm glad that he didn't suffer too much, but he was went down by Parkinson's.
I'm Susie Matthews. I was fired a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of anxiety that goes with that, and looking for a job at 68 is not an easy thing to do, but I'm going to do it.
Hello, my name's Emma, and I'm going back to college in August.
And please join me with these words. We hear your words. We witness your life in all its heaviness and brilliance. And we carry your joys and sorrows in a shared heart.
Let's take a moment to come fully into this place. Put your feet flat on the floor. Relax into your chair. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Allow your breathing to deepen. Wiggle your jaw. Melt. If you notice an area that is tense or tight, tense it even more, really tight. Count to 5 and then release it. Let the bustle of getting here melt away and be in this space of holiness. Please remain seated as we join in our meditative hymn, Building Bridges.
visions and all of our visions. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
The following words are by Rainer Maria Rilke. Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves. Like locked rooms and like books that are written now in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given to you, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, gradually, without noticing it, you will live along some distant day into the answer.
The following reading is by Maria Popova. Don't just resist cynicism, fight it actively. Fight it in yourself, for this ungainly beast lies dormant in each of us, and counter it in those you love and engage with by modeling its opposite. Cynicism often masquerades as a noble disposition, but it is inferior. Cynicism is a contracting force. Cynicism is inherently uncreative, unconstructive, and spiritually corrosive. Like all forms of destruction, cynicism is infinitely easier and lazier than construction. There's nothing more difficult yet more gratifying in our society than living with sincerity and acting from a place of large-hearted, constructive, rational faith in the human spirit, continually bending toward growth and betterment. This remains the most potent antidote to cynicism. Today, especially, it is an act of courage and resistance.
I peep one eye open and then the next. I see light coming in my bedroom window. I move my leg across the sheet and then remember, Mom died yesterday. I was a teenager in high school. Her death was caused by a stroke. She had not been ill. There was no reason to think she would die young. We had already lost our dad to divorce. That had caused a fall for our little family, a single mom with 2 kids, and we had moved into a smaller house. After that shakeup, I was so worried about losing my mom that I had even done childish, superstitious things like avoiding squeaky floorboards. But astonishingly, and without any indication that something like this could really happen, our home now had no parent. A family friend stayed overnight that night, and From there began a long track of living with different families until I was of age. That morning, I didn't know how I was going to survive. But here is how I did survive. Over the next 3 months, I made this book. I made drawings and paintings that showed my grief, my loneliness, and my worries. I wrote and collected poems and found art and quotes that showed and told about the feelings that I was having, ranging from loneliness to despair to hope. I pasted all of it on paper and sewed the binding. Then I made a cover with cardboard and burlap. Making the book gave me something to put my mind to during those first few months. Finding and making the art, poems, and other text and putting it in order reflected back to me what I was going through. It created a story for me to hold on to and helped me resist being overwhelmed or losing myself. It helped me make a way out of no way. I wouldn't have called it that at the time, but the book is an example of expressive art. And what I will talk about in the next few minutes is the power of creativity to help us resist and prevail over that which could defeat us. I will be talking only about the personal realm, but let me say right here and now that creative art is a strategy for resistance and transformation on the social and political level too. But that would be another sermon. Today it's about the personal. First, I will lift a few examples, then offer some reflections on the book. And then I'll provide a few ideas for how you can make this part of your resistance and renewal. What you saw the children and adult volunteers do this morning is an example of expressive art. The children chose colors for feelings, and what you saw is actually the warm-up portion of a workshop. After the warm-up, the participants in a workshop go on and make paintings that help them process what they are going through using color and shape. As a project in retirement, I became certified to present this kind of workshop, and I've been presenting these at hospitals and other venues over the last 2 years. The workshops are suitable for anywhere that people are experiencing grief, fear, pain, and stress, such as support groups for people with chronic illness, caregiver groups, at-risk teen groups, and so on. Making pictures that show what they are going through helps people resist and imagine new ways through. Prompts in the workshops are designed exactly for this. Presenting the workshops is a way to bring to other people in their hard time the expressive art that was cathartic to me in mine. I love it when I come across examples of art working this way. In Barbara Kingsolver's recent novel, Damon Copperhead, Damon is mistreated in foster care, but to get through, he draws graphic novel-type cartoons. His abusers, the cruel adults, are villains, and he and the other kids are superheroes. Enjoying the dramas that Damon draws brings amusement and even dignity and empowerment to a group of pretty powerless kids. Another example, Elizabeth Layton suffered from depression until she started to draw. Over a series of many drawings, she took on and resisted the sexist and ageist stereotypes that, if not resisted and had been internalized, could have injured her. In the drawing I have in mind, she shows herself with her arms defiantly raised and political-style buttons all over her shirt that read, Fat Pride, Gray Panther, and I Am Beautiful. Grandma Layton, as she is known, became a case study in the field of art therapy because drawing helped her heal from depression. She made a way out of no way. But I want to circle back to the book, because as I have thought about it over the last few weeks, it strikes me that this book is a particularly Unitarian, Universalist way of making a way out of no way. I have come to see the book almost as a historical artifact that illuminates some things about us. And by the way, I'm going to abbreviate Unitarian Universalist with the shortened UU as I speak. First off, the book exemplifies the UU tendency to see questioning and seeking as more authentic than fixed answers. My teenage self titled the book Attempts to Understand. And attempts to understand is what this book is. It has an arc. It begins with my grief and progresses to the one ray of hope that I could find. But all in all, the book is a more tentative than certain book, like a work in progress in my quest to make sense of how something like the death of my mother could happen. It's almost like one big question mark. And indeed, a question mark was my mother's favorite symbol for our faith, for she was UU and we belonged to a UU church. The idea of living the questions was meaningful to my mom. The dogma of her childhood mainline church had injured her, she said, and to her, the symbol of a question mark was a fine replacement for a cross. And she lived that way. She took the risk of believing that thoughtful questioning was the most authentic faith. And so she taught this to her children. I heard the famous Rilke poem as a child, and my mom loved to chew over big questions. You would have loved her. And I'm sorry she did not live to visit this congregation. And even closer to my heart, she never met my husband or my children having been raised in this congregation. So being UU, when my mom died, I was not given the theological answers common in many denominations. There was no, your mother's death is part of God's plan that we cannot see. Or, God gave you this to make you stronger. Or, God loves your mom so much that he wanted her in heaven with him. No. As a UU child, I had not been told these things, and I'm of course glad for that. What I was taught was to seek, to cobble together a tentative construction and keep working on it until I had something I could use. Any conclusions would be open to modification and change. And this is the second way that the book reflects our faith. We have a living tradition. It is subject to change. UUs are different from churches with creeds in this way. It can be uncomfortable, but our faith does not promise to change. I once lamented to a fellow UU that the church no longer felt like the UU church of my youth. He said, Tina, our faith is a living tradition. It will never again be like the church of your youth. And indeed, I've seen the changes in UU over the decades, and I'm good with that. I have come to value it. And I see it in this book. The book reflects the best stab that I could make at the time to form a reason to go on. How I would frame that has changed over time, and the book represents one moment in my life. The third way the book illuminates our faith is that I pulled from many inspired texts. The wisdom I found and put in the book is cobbled together from many sources. There are 2 passages from the Bible, but the quotes are not just from the Bible as an authoritative text. There are quotes from Emerson, the Upanishads, Erich Fromm, Khalil Gibran, and more. And this is part of our faith, that there have been many inspired texts throughout history. I had been taught to pull widely from the wisdom of many sources in my childhood religious education classes that I attended at my church. The fourth way the book reflects our faith is that I express my feelings in it, a full range plainly laid out from wrenching despair to the hope for love. Indeed, in my UU upbringing, I had absorbed the humanistic idea that I have value and that what I go through and feel, who I am, has dignity and worth and merits expression on its own in its very human terms. If I didn't believe this, I wouldn't have made the book. The fifth way the book illuminates our faith is in its creativity. The book shows a creative response to life, and moreover, a creative response to a profound challenge. The teachings I absorbed as a child had shown me that the possibility for renewal is ever present and that it exists within the nearly infinite creative resourcefulness, capacity for invention, and possibility for renewal of hope that can be ignited in the human heart and mind to interrupt even the worst. I was taught that if there is a God, something of God is in the creative resourcefulness of human beings to find a way even when there seems to be no way. I was taught, see the possibility even in the worst thing. In our own UU way, this is analogous to resurrection in the Christian faith. Jesus is executed, but as a miracle, he rises again. The worst thing, his execution, is not the last thing. Resurrection, renewal, rebirth is the last thing. If it seems like the worst thing is the last thing, then it's not the last thing. This is creativity. It's a law of the universe, and it is kind of miraculous. Yet, in the arc of the book, there is not going to be a superficial answer. In the end, or a supernatural answer. In the end, when I make my way to what gives me hope, I land on love. Specifically, it was the love that I witnessed between a couple in our little church. In this couple, some elders in our congregation, I saw hope for the loneliness and pain I felt. So it was in human relationships that would be salvation. And this is the sixth reflection of our faith that I see in this book. Seventh and finally, I want to share what might be the most important takeaway from all of this. And this is the unusual way that children and youth are treated in our churches. I was the child of a single divorcee in the congregation who had just died. The family friend who stayed overnight was my mom's friend from church. The friends who gave me hope, all I had, right after she died, they were also adults from the church. But it wasn't just that these were the people that stepped in. I want to try to describe how I felt as a child in the congregation, even before my mom died. Children and youth were not demeaned or talked down to in the church. While this sounds dramatic and like, who would do that? If you think about it, there are circumstances where children are stereotyped and marginalized. But we UUs treat kids and youth differently. They are seen as individuals with inherent worth, dignity, and uniqueness. This is reflected in our denomination's OWLS, or Our Whole Lives, sex education curriculum, where teens are told the complete truth about sexuality and honored as people who can be trusted with it. It was reflected in countless small conversations in which I felt seen as a person with value no matter my age. I felt seen and valued across the board in the community at the church, and reflecting on it today, I think that this provided the undergirding such that I would be the kind of youth who would even think up doing something like making this book. Doing something like this seemed to have a context and would be received and understood by anyone in that community who I showed it to. For it was in the context of that community that this creative work sprung out of a child who needed to find a way. I hope you have enjoyed hearing the story of me as a UU teen and how the principles of the faith itself provided a helpful and sustaining milieu. In closing, I want to share 3 suggestions wherein you or we could make this our own. First, make your own attempts to understand book. Tape, glue, or staple art clippings, poems, or quotes that are meaningful to you now. Add in your own drawings, writings, and questions, and see what emerges as you lay out your feelings and thoughts. Then bind it together for a record of where you are now. As a second idea, have a pad of paper and crayons or paints nearby and show your feelings abstractly as they come and go, like the participants in my workshops. Putting feelings outside yourself helps you see them in a new way and puts your creative right brain to work, rearranging, renewing, and making something new. Our problems are pregnant with new possibilities waiting to be discovered. Third, provide art opportunities to the children in your life whenever possible. Let it be the kind that does not ask for formulaic responses, but prompt an open-ended, expressive response. My hope with the Jerry Hollenbeek Gallery, the new art wall space in the hall by the office back behind there, is that we will use this to display, honor, be curious about, and engaged with the art of the youth and children of the church. As one of the curators of the gallery, our vision is to not just show adult work, but the art of our youth too. For we don't know, there may be one youth or more right now in our congregation, just like me when I was one of them, that could really use or needs a milieu that values, sees, and dignifies their creative expression as a foothold for getting through and flourishing in their own life. In other words, to find a way when there is no way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. That was great. The work of the church depends on us. Our generosity of time, wisdom, and financial resources. We invite you to give generously to support the ongoing work of the church. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. with me. We extinguish the flame, not the light of truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Shall we join in our closing hymn?
We are questioners and seekers who bring to the world the transforming power of creativity to resist, invent, and renew. In short, to find the power to find a way even when there seems to be no way. May the fire of your creativity be strong in your heart and mind in the coming week as you nourish, renew, and empower both yourself and the world with your gifts.